For many years, the world's most powerful radio telescope have been scanning the sky, searching for signals from aliens. That project is called SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. In a U.S. government laboratory in Utah, a girl wakes up from a nightmare and is being observed by scientists in hazmat suits and other officials. She's in a transparent dome room. Some men carry containers of cyanide and begin to fill her room with it, and Mr. Fitch, the main official, apologies to her as they do it. The girl cries and Fitch is teary too. The computer starts beeping, and everyone thinks she is no more. But suddenly she breaks through the glass in the dome and escapes, and the alarms start blaring. She climbs over a fence, as soldiers and dogs are looking for her. A helicopter goes looking for her, and many soldiers too. A train is passing by. She gets on the train. But a man tries to get close to her, but her alien instincts kick in, and she throws him away and kills him. She takes his clothes. The lab officials are still searching for her. Fitch suspects she could have gotten onto the train. The train stops, and she gets off the train and enters a store. She notices a man paying for his items. She tries to shoplift, but the store owner confronts her, and she runs out. She then grabs a bag and climbs onto another train and goes into a cabin. She goes to a room, steals money, then to a kitchen and steals food. She goes back to her cabin and eats a banana weirdly. The lab officials find the body of the man she killed on the train and say that the material found in his wounds proves it is her. They realize she could be anywhere. Another official suggests stopping all trains, but Fitch says they can't do that since the local police will ask them a million questions they can't answer. They decide to put personnel at every stop along those lines, and he says he wants a team to track her and hunt her down. A man named Preston leaves his home. Another man named Dan is at the psychiatrist, and he predicts that a man will knock on the door asking for him, and it happens, and he leaves. The girl has another bad dream and begins eating. Then she sees her skin bubbling. She starts crying, and suddenly something strange starts coming out of her face and body as she screams in pain and calls for help. A snake-like growth continues to happen. Preston, Dan, Stephen, and Laura wait for Fitch in a room. They get to know each other, and Preston is a bounty hunter. Dan says he's an empath. Dan says they show him awful things people have done, and he tells them why they did it. Stephen says he's an expert at cross-cultural behavior, and Laura says she's a molecular biologist. The ticket collector goes to the girl's cabin to tell her to turn the TV off since it's late. But she sees a huge cocoon-looking creature in the bathroom as she looks for the girl, and the creature attacks her. A woman emerges from the cocoon. Fitch goes to meet the group and tells them that he is in charge of that operation. He tells them that there's a project is called SETI that sent a message into space with information about Earth, like our position in the solar system, our DNA structure, the population on Earth, etc. After some years, they got a reply from an unknown life form that sent back two messages. The first was a type of methane gas that could be used to make a renewable fuel, and the second was a way to modify the human DNA. The scientists use that information and impregnate ovas, and it is born. They call her Syl, and she grows extremely rapidly. And in a month, a teenage-looking girl is in front of them. Then one night when she's sleeping, they notice rapid eye movements and sounds suggesting something is inside her. After this, the team decides to terminate her using gas, but she escapes. The team present there is called to find and terminate her. Syl reaches Los Angeles and has worn the clothes of the ticket collector woman she killed. She gets off the train and passes police checking children and goes into the city. Fitch and the group find the ticket collector's body and the alien cocoon. Dan notices that she's scared since she's been eating a lot, maybe storing her energy for something. Laura sees the cocoon and says she would be fully grown now. Preston says that's why their people couldn't find her since they were looking for a child. Preston asks for the conductor's ID and credit card number. Maybe Syl has them since they are not on the train. Dan says she kills if she feels threatened, and she has no remorse about it. The team gets to know that she's in Los Angeles. As Syl walks on the street, she sees a bridal dress, tries it on, and buys it. The shopkeeper, who is pregnant, returns the extra money she gives her, tells her to be careful with her money, and asks her if she's a foreigner. Syl says yes and leaves. The team suggests to create alien without including human DNA, so they could analyze its vulnerabilities. Steven says her human form could be a mask. Fitch says he ordered for his lab equipment there so they can do it. Syl checks into a hotel. Starts watching TV. Laura is penetrating a cell with alien DNA and suddenly the camera dies. So she decides to go into the experiment room to replace the camera. She takes Preston to help her. They switch the camera and notice that the cell had already got penetrated and started growing. They immediately try to get the top back on. While they are doing that, Preston drops a bolt into the mesh floor, and they are unable to retrieve it. The alien grows quickly. They try to get out of the room, but Fitch does not let them out. Fitch burns the experiment box, and a part of the alien is flung out and still alive. Fitch says he has to burn the entire room, but everyone tells him to let them out. He says he can't because it's protocol. The assistant tells Preston to use the gas pipe as a flamethrower and burn the alien. But a part of the alien escapes and heads for Laura. Preston goes to help her and notices that the alien is hiding behind the pipes, and he attacks it with a rod, and he thinks he killed it, but it starts growing. Dan pushes Fitch and Steven opens the door for them, and they escape, and the room is burnt. Syl goes to the hotel receptionist and asks where she can meet men. He tells her there's a club nearby. He asks for her credit card and swipes it. Fitch tells the team that Syl used the credit card in a hotel, and they immediately leave for Hollywood where the hotel is. Syl gets in the club. A guy approaches her, but another woman comes in between and steals him. The woman then goes to the bathroom. Syl follows her and kills her. Fitch's team gets to the hotel and watches her on the CCTV tapes, but can't see her face clearly. The receptionist tells them that she wanted to meet a man, so he suggested the club nearby. They take the tape and head to the club. Syl finds another man, and as they leave, she learns as he drives the car. A lady sees blood in the bathroom and screams. Fitch's team gets to the club, and he commands everyone to stay in the club and not leave. But Syl leaves with her man before that. Preston inquires about Syl with the bouncer. He tells them that she left with a man named Bobby. She goes to Bobby's house. Bobby goes for a shower. He asks her to come close, but she says she wants to leave. He doesn't let her go. He pulls her close, and she's forced to agree and kisses him. But she soon kills him. Fitch and the team gets to Bobby's house from the back and sneak in while she's showering. Preston sneaks into the house and sees dead Bobby, but she's not there. Laura then says Syl probably wants to mate, but then they wonder why she killed Bobby. They guess maybe he forced her. Laura says she probably rejected him since she could sense some hereditary defect like how rats can sense it in potential partners. Laura then finds an insulin bottle in his garbage. They get to the hotel, hoping she'll come back there. But she sees all the commotion outside and drives away. Syl has a bad dream, and she wakes up and drives away. She then ditches the car as it runs out of gas. As she's walking, a car hits her, and she is flung in a bus stop. A man goes to help her and calls 911. She's unconscious and is taken to the hospital. The man goes to the hospital to check on her, and the receptionist asks him for her name, and if she has insurance. He says he doesn't know, and he gives his credit card instead. Syl wakes up and heals herself in front of the doctor, who is startled. She walks out, and the man asks her if she's okay, and she goes away with him. Fitch and team find the abandoned car, and they are informed about a weird report made by a doctor, so Fitch tells Laura and Preston to go check it out. Syl goes to the guy's house, and they take a picture together. Preston and Laura get to the hospital and find out that it's Syl. They asks the hospital staff who was with her. They say his name is John. They figure out where he lives, find a phone number, and try to reach out to him. They also inform Fitch where they are heading. Sil and John get into the hot tub and start kissing. John tells Sil to calm down as she's going too fast. Preston and Laura reach John's place and are at the door. Sil hears them and is alert. John tries to go get the door, but Sil pulls him into the hot tub and tells him that she wants a baby. He panics, so she drowns him. Preston decides to go around the back. She transforms into her alien self. As Preston and Laura get to the back, they see dead John floating in the hot tub. Preston goes to look for her in the garden, but Sil is looking at him from hiding. Fitch and everyone gets there too. Sil runs away and asks a lady for help. Fitch and the team get the picture they clicked, but her face is blur, so they can't see how she looks. They figure that there's no semen in the pool, so they haven't had sex yet. Sil sees them leave as she looks at them from a car. Sil follows Fitch and the team and finds the hotel they are staying in and gets in and dreams of having sex with Preston. But she wakes up, and she's with a tied-up woman who saved her. And Sil asks her if she has nightmares, and Sil says her nightmares tell her who she is. The lady asks Sil to release her, but Sil cuts her finger off and sees it grow back, and then goes to cut the lady's finger. Sil leaves and goes to fill fuel in containers and steals someone else's car. Fitch and the team are at the club. Dan notices that Laura and Preston like each other. Steven says he's heading out as he needs some air. Dan follows him. When he gets out, she suddenly gets in front of Dan, and he realizes it's her and starts screaming and calling everyone there. It scares her, and she runs towards her car with the lady tied in it and drives away. Everyone gets there and follows her. Fitch calls for the helicopters to follow her. They're chasing her, and she off-roads down a hill. She jumps out of the car, and the car crashes into a gas supply, and there's a huge explosion. Sil gets away. Preston says he doesn't understand why she came to the club like that. Dan tells Fitch he feels something's not right. They find the thumb, and they say they'll check if it's hers. Fitch congratulates them on a job well done, and says they can return to their lives tomorrow. Fitch and everyone parties together. As Preston and Laura dancing together, he sees a lady with blonde hair and goes to her. But it's not Sil. Laura tells him Sil's dead, but he says that he doesn't buy it. Laura goes to the bathroom and Sil enters with her hair dyed black. Sil tells Laura that her perfume smells good and asks her how does it work on her boyfriend. Not very well, says Laura as she walks away. Laura tells the guys she's going to her room. Dan tells Preston that Laura still wants him with her. He says he's going to check if he's right. He takes the elevator and Sil follows him. He smells her perfume, is confused, and compliments her about it. Then he says it's his floor and gets out. Sil follows him. He goes to Laura's room, and they start kissing as Sil hears them from the door. Sil then sees a lady announcing she's housekeeping and entering a room. She does the same to the adjacent room to Laura's. Steven gets into his room, and he sees a lady there. He doesn't know it's Sil. Sil tells him that she's seen him downstairs, so she came up to wait for him to be alone as she strips. He says this never happens to him. He takes his shirt off, and she pushes him on the bed. Steven and Sil have sex. Dan feels weird, so he goes to Laura's room and tells them that he feels that Steven is having sex with Sil, and he didn't want to disturb them since she might attack him. Sil tells Steven that she can feel it as life begins in her. He thinks she's joking, but she kills him. Then the group is outside his room and Preston breaks open the door, but she breaks the wall and runs away. Preston tries to shoot her, but she heads for the basement. Everyone's in the basement. They notice a huge hole and a cave. They go into it and notice a dead body, so they know she's there. They go down a hole and into some tunnels. Fitch asks Dan which way did Sil go. He says he doesn't know. Then later he points in one direction. Fitch doesn't trust him, so he goes the other way and tells Dan to follow him. Dan notices some bubbles in the water. Fitch sees the bubbles too. Suddenly an alien jumps out and pulls Fitch into the water. Dan, Preston, and Laura rush to that area and find Fitch's body floating. Dan tells them which way he thinks she's gone. Dan leads them into a hole, says she's gone there. Her alien form is giving birth. Dan sees some movement and goes to look there, but he can't reach there. Then they see it's a child, and it eats a rat nearby. Dan goes near the kid, but it attacks Dan. The kid then slowly transforms into an alien. Laura goes to help Dan, but she falls into the water. The alien then goes straight for Dan, but he aims fire at it from his gun, and it falls into the water. Dan is hanging for his life. Laura calls Preston for help. Sil catches Preston with her tentacles. He uses a knife to cut through them. She comes straight for him, but he shoots Sil. She falls into the water and screams in agony. Preston and Laura try to help Dan. Sil emerges from the fire and grabs hold of Dan's leg. Preston reloads the gun, tells Dan to duck, and he shoots the alien. The alien's head blasts. Preston and Laura manage to pull Dan up. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you all liked the video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to watch many more such cool recaps. And hit the bell icon too. Bye.